goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, find a rider. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Loading Mag NUFC. We were going to do a top table talk, but we thought with all the noise on Newcastle United today in particular and the fallout from yesterday, it's probably best to have just a purely Newcastle United show and talk Newcastle. Welcome all to the chat. Daz, how are you? How's things?
Grand, not too bad. Not too bad, apart from the last kick of the ball, really, last night. But a great performance by the lads after a great start, first of all. Then, especially the first 35 minutes or so. And then, then a great battling performance, a comeback to take it to 2-2. But, in honor of Bruno, Brazil tonight for this one. But how are you, Pete? Back to school?
Yeah, back at work. Not too bad. A bit tired, but it is what it is. Hopefully, people in the chat are well. Hopefully, you're getting those likes up. I see Geniesta's already in there telling you what's what. Getting those likes up. Let's get it. So, look, we'll start with the news that's been banded around a lot, and it's a familiar topic around Alexander Isak. We'll cover that because we have to in that situation. What we found out just before kickoff yesterday, an exclusive from Craig Hope, had mentioned that actually Jamie Rubin and a PIF delegation had met with Alexander Isak in his home yesterday. There was a talk of wanting him to stay and reintegrate into the squad, and it possibly could mean a new contract. They talked about this in there, and that is the club's preference to keep Isak, which we already knew all summer, and it has been the stance all the way through, including Eddie Howe. It has slightly changed, however, because today multiple people reported it, but Luke Edwards has put an exclusive in there to say that Alexander Isak tells Newcastle he still wants to leave, even after talks with Jamie Rubin and the PIF delegation. He goes on to say, from his perspective, he understood that Liverpool are unwilling to make another offer unless there is hope of it being accepted, and will not pay anything close to the 150 million asking price. In addition to that, Luke Edwards says the final call will be made by the majority stakeholders, Saudi Arabia PIF, of which Al Rumayyan is most senior figure. It says PIF has maintained all summer that Isak would not be allowed to leave, but the pressure they're being put under by the player to force them to change their mind has been intense and unexpected. Just to add into that, in the fallout from all of that, Luke Edwards did say, in reality, was Isak ever going to relent with 6 days of the window remaining, having gone on strike and released a burning bridges statement last week? Of course he's not. The only thing that can change is Newcastle's board's position. As things stand, they haven't budged either. So we've still got another situation there. So we were talking about it, Daz, the other day, about the chances of Alexander Isak staying this window. We thought our chances, or the chances of Isak staying, were high. Now you've read what's come out today. Are you still of that mindset that it is high, that there is a high chance of Alexander Isak staying, or is that piece that's come out today and Isak's stance reaffirmed changed your mindset? But what's your thoughts?
Well, Isak's mind hasn't changed. Newcastle's mind hasn't changed. Liverpool's stance hasn't changed. We still don't have 2 strikers. Why would my mind change? No way. He still has to stay. This deal is not happening. And yeah, it's with how yeah, with 6 days out, he couldn't change either at this stage. But he'll have to change his tune when that transfer window is slammed shut next Monday. It is disappointing that didn't result. That conversation didn't result in something a bit more positive. But it would have been some turnaround if it did, and that's all it took to solve this one. But no, Isak will have to reintegrate with the team, get back to training. But it's obvious he's going to sit it out until it does slam shut. But for me, Isak's going nowhere. And why Liverpool aren't from that article? Liverpool aren't going to go anywhere near 150. So you're talking 150 and 120. That's a non-starter to begin with. There's 3 conditions that have to be met: the fee, the 2 strikers for us, and then get to the table and thrash out a deal. And they're not even on the first step. So it's not happening. It's not happening this transfer window. What do you think, Pete? What's your stance now after the latest and Isak trebling down or whatever number he's on now?
I'm not surprised by his standpoint, to be honest. I never expected it to be anything else that he would all of a sudden magically want to reintegrate right now. I think it's been mentioned for a while now that Alexander Isak is all in on getting out of Newcastle United until it's impossible to do so. And I think even Ben Jacobs have reiterated the point again, is that until Liverpool tell him that it's impossible, he is going to be all out on a move away from Newcastle United. That's as simple as that. And with 6 days left of the window, there's still an opportunity for him to move. So I didn't think he would budge. It doesn't surprise me at all. I think it would have been more of a shock to me if it had turned around and gone, yeah, okay, I'll come back into training. I know there was a lot of talk tonight, last night, because of the situation with Anthony Gordon being sent off, that he would all of a sudden be like sort of magically reintegrated into the team. It's not the case. It's not because the club doesn't want it. It's not because the players and the manager doesn't want it. It's because he doesn't want it. That standpoint isn't going to change, in my opinion. And it won't change until, 5 p.m. Monday of the deadline? Yep. Closing.
5 or 7.
It
could be 7.
Yeah, I mentioned a while ago, it wouldn't be, I regardless of the situation, if Alexander Isak stays, I wouldn't expect to see him until after the international break anyway. And I think we've got Wolves after the international break. And I'm not even sure he'll be available to play then, unless there's a huge turnaround. Because after Leeds on Saturday night, he'll probably get picked and called for internationals in Sweden. So he'll be gone for them 2 weeks. And so he won't be around to be able to have those conversations anyway. So he'll be getting out there. And then it would all come back into play once he returns from international break. And then on top of that, you've got to then train and get him up to speed before he's even in a position to be in the squad. For me, you're looking beyond that. Possibly, after that? We've got Bournemouth away and then Arsenal. You're probably looking at those 2 games as a potential target, which is annoying for us. But this is why it's so crucial that in the next few days, we have to agree a fee to get a striker in the door, because you can't rely on Alexander Isak right now. You have to have a striker in there. And it was proven last night that we were missing that for large parts of the game. So that's why
picking up on one of the things you said there, Peter. But surely when the transfer window slams shut, that Newcastle should be sitting down again with them, calling on to the house again, because it's in his interest then to get this started, because he can't go 3 or 4 months without the window being open again and the saga continuing on again. And the other thing is that, like, if PIF and Newcastle were to bow down now and to sell him to Liverpool for this reduced fee, without us having any replacements as well, or even if we did bring in one replacement, for example, they look weak. They, after the statement they come out with, they look weak, and it then puts everything again back into question, especially for anyone else that wants to go to move on. They'll go, well, this is the way out. This is the way you have to play it to get my move, even if I have a long contract and I am being paid well. So this is it'll set a precedent for it. So they can't, even if it was to mean that he goes 3 or 4 months without playing and is that stubborn not to come back into the fold. I don't think they can do it and it makes them look weak in business elsewhere as well, outside of Newcastle. They can't get this sorted, and they're well, we shall see over the next 6 days.
Yeah, I mean, look, the key is that if you ideally you'd want to be sitting down, like you said, after the window closes. But as I say, all the games will be played by Sunday night. The window doesn't close till Monday evening. But normally after the game, players are flying off to internationals, and he'll be the first one out the door because he's obviously not going to be playing for Leeds. So he'll be the first one. It wouldn't even be surprised if by Friday or Saturday, by game day, he's already flying to Sweden for or wherever they're going to meet up for his internationals. I don't think he's going to stay around at any point. He'll want to get away and want to probably have this conversation when he gets back. So that's my frustration, is it's going to kick itself down the can if he does stay. There's not going to be a resolution. I hope there is, but it just seems like it's just going to drag on and on and on until after the internationals before something is actually done. But look, it's an ongoing situation. It's very, very clear now that, as Luke Edwards has said, and as we've said continuously, that the club are not budging. The club are not bending the knee for Liverpool in any way, shape or form, and neither should they. They shouldn't at all be doing anything like that. For me, Liverpool are in a position where they should be the ones going out of their way to put the money in place to sign him. If they really want him, they should be putting the money down. And Newcastle United don't need to be putting Liverpool to the table to get this deal done. The emphasis right now is all on Liverpool, and it should not be on Newcastle United. Our focus should be getting another striker. So for me, that's kind of where I'm at.
Just back to the article that Luke Edwards had there, the extract. So are we to assume then, let's say, respectful Liverpool, that they don't come in with a bid unless there's encouragement from Newcastle? And if a bid was to come in, are we assuming that is the encouragement for Newcastle, or do we think that they'll just throw in a bid anyway, just to drop it in there and see how it ruffles the feathers again?
Well, they've maintained all the way through, like, since the first bid got rejected, they've maintained that they're not going to come back to the table unless Newcastle give them encouragement to come back to the table. Newcastle United have given them no encouragement whatsoever. They rejected the bid instantly of 110 million. They haven't come back to the table at all. Since that, Newcastle have continuously maintained that the player's not for sale. So I don't see, unless they get desperate and they just whack in a bid to see what happens Thursday, Friday, to try and get something done, maybe, but that'll be going against what they've said throughout. They'll be going against their own words. So this is what it is. Like, if they really want,
who blinks first?
Yeah, it absolutely is. But it's a case of, who's going to go back on their word first. because Liverpool have said they wouldn't do this. And so if they do, they've gone back on their word, and it shows how desperate they are. But if Liverpool do that, for me, they can't come in with 120, 130 million. They cannot do that. They have to come in with exactly what Newcastle United want. Even if it's 140 and add-ons that take it to 150 and it hits the 150 mark. So on our books, it's 150. That's what needs to happen. But I think the ownership will go 150 or nothing. And they absolutely should. They absolutely should.
Yeah, it only comes into any kind of a question if we have two strikers and it's 150 mark, then that's come into a discussion kind of time. But where with 6 days to go, the domino effects that need to happen for that are weakening by the minute.
Absolutely. So it'll be a case of wait and see. Look, this is going to come to a head at some point. We're going to find out in the next 6 days or so. So something's going to break soon that's going to give us a little bit more clarity on this situation. You know, whether it's he decides to reintegrate and stay, which doesn't look likely after today's information. Either we accept a bid from Liverpool or encourage discussions and go from there, or it's a case of we see out the window, we maintain that we're not in discussions and we don't want to discuss Isak leaving and we just let time run out. One of those things is going to happen. But we can all agree that Alexander Isak has been an absolute disgrace and continues to be an absolute disgrace. He's seen those players last night give absolutely everything to the cause, show their commitment to Newcastle United. They stay united on the pitch, even with 10 men, and are the better team against the champions. He can see that this club is capable of competing with the very best in the Premier League. And he's the one that's jeopardized our potential progression because he's the one that doesn't want the fight. He doesn't want to be involved in this. And he's an absolute disgrace, absolute embarrassment. And him doing this today is only just going to make Newcastle United fans even more angry. And he will feel the wrath even more so whenever he returns after the international break. That's for sure. But yeah, proud of the boys yesterday. Thought they were excellent. Obviously, a real poor moment with the sending off is effectively cost Newcastle the game because the 10 men was always going to
struggle.
Yeah, there was always going to be a moment where something didn't work. Like they were always going to catch us out, and it was just a lack of bodies. They used the extra man, and it made the difference. But look, there's so much to be positive about after that performance. We've played Villa away, one of the toughest away games in the league, in the country, and then we've just played the champions. We've played two very difficult games. We've got those two ticked off already, which is great. We've got 1 point on the board. We're still not that far away. The key now is what we do on Saturday evening against Leeds. If we can go and get 3 points there, that could really kickstart our season going into some of the games that are coming up after that. So I'm still really positive and still really buoyant about Newcastle United going into this game on Saturday, albeit there is some injury stuff coming out of that, but yeah. we can talk about that in a second. Are there any questions or anything that we can answer?
Yeah, there is, and let's get to a few of them first. Chippers, who's a member for 42 months, nice and Chippers. He says Isak bottled Liverpool and Arsenal last season. Also, another member's comment from the Connett says it was a member for 22 months. He says 150 million cash up front, or he goes to Saudi. That can happen. Actually, that's probably another possibility that happens in the next couple of days. Whether he's up for that is another thing. Does he want to come back and bend the knee at Newcastle or fancy a little holiday in Saudi? One from Tony and the even Jeff. Anyway, Tony, he
And the
says,
revenge,
good,
and is it the revenge of
the
the crew?
crew. Oh, yeah, there we go. No, yeah, the revenge of the crew. Good show, chaps. Any injury updates? Yeah, so let's maybe we'll take the injury topic then first. So we know that Tonali was holding his shoulder, went still on for another 10 minutes and went off. Joe Linton was down, holding that leg again. We know Gordon is obviously going to be suspended for 3 games. Charles concussion, yes. So that's where we are. But and have you heard anything? Well, Joe Linton's wife came out with a comment on Joe Linton update. Do you have that, Pete?
Yeah, I've got it. So so that was put out on socials earlier on today. A few people have picked it up, so I've just kind of grabbed it from there, and it says to answer everyone together, it's not serious. It's nothing to do with surgery, which is great news. Muscular injury, and he will be 100% in a few days. Unfortunately, not in time to defend the Brazilian national team. So that is some positivity there from Joe Linton's wife. So basically saying that, you know, it's not serious, but it's serious enough to keep him out of the international. So we're looking at a couple of weeks, 2.5, maybe 3 weeks. So if that is right, we could be having Joe Linton back potentially for the home game against Wolves after the international break. That's what it's saying from that perspective. Obviously, that will mean if he can't represent Brazil in the international break, it means that he won't be able to make the Leeds game, which is obviously disappointing. But Jacob Ramsey, who I thought had a really, really good substitute appearance, thought he played really well, and that definitely softens the blow there from that perspective. I'll just throw out another thing that was talked about with regards to injuries. Of course, you mentioned it does those players. Tonali, Joe Linton are the 2 main ones. However, with regards to that, Magpie Media put something out earlier, and it was Physio Scout that touched on it. They suspected with a shoulder injury for Tonali, likely the AC joint sprain, a little chance of dislocation, could be potentially 2 to 4 weeks out. Now, to be fair, anything shoulder related, you're thinking back to Jacob Murphy. He ended up coming back after about a week or 2, popping it again, and then was out for a full 3 months. So with this, we cannot take a risk with Sandro Tonali because we can't afford to lose him for a significant period of time. So 2 to 4 weeks doesn't sound too bad at all, particularly with the international break helping us out there. With that, Joe Linton, likely a 1 to 2 groin strain, 1 to 6 weeks out, depending on the grade. So obviously they've got to wait for that. And it wasn't confirmed officially. Like Sky mentioned, it was a concussion sub. Some have said it wasn't a concussion sub. If it is a concussion sub, it's then potentially 12 days, as it said on that he will have to not be able to play for, which rules him out of the Leeds game. However, I have heard on top of that actually, if the scan comes back and it wasn't concussion, he may well be available this weekend. So I don't actually know what the situation is with Shaw. If anyone in the chat knows, you might be able to help with that one, because I don't know if you know, Daz.
No, but I suppose the beauty of the transfer business we have done is that we have cover. With Malik Chow could fit in as the right centre back. Obviously, the Cells could as well, or even Botman could come in there and do a role as well. But let's say Malik Chow, because he's the one that took to the pitch instead of Shar, and we had Jacob Ramsey as well, who come on and impressed with his cameo as well, and that'll give him a chance. And you know, it's not a bad time to give him a run out. Anyway, who knows? Even if Joe Linton was fully fit, that he could have got his chance anyway. So I'm not so worried about the Leeds game, and I know we need someone to put the ball in the net. And look, at Leeds are going to be up for it. There's not going to be no pushover them at home. But I think, and as you said, the international break does really help us. So I think we're not too bad with the situation. Really, it could have been an awful lot worse, depending on the timing of it. I want to come back to one thing, an interesting comment here. I want to get your thoughts on this. And it comes from Steve Middlemiss, and he says, this is in relation to Isak. He goes, the club don't have to release him from international duty. I think, or maybe it's not in Davy as to you, Pete. But I just, it says here when you Google that, no, a club generally cannot withhold a player from their national team. They're obliged by FIFA rules to release players for international duty during designated windows. Refusing to release a player is a violation of FIFA regulations and can result in disciplinary actions, such as warnings or suspensions against the club. I'm on for doing it.
Yeah,
I
didn't think you were allowed to withhold a player going to play for international. I think there's been rumours about that kind of happening previously. I remember with England there was like issues with some Man U players, like the likes of Gerrard, Lampard as well. Back in the day with England, question marks whether the club were trying to manipulate or pretend there was an injury because they didn't want him to travel. We're not in that, and I don't think the club would do that anyway. I just the club value the fact that we have so many international players. I don't think they would want to withhold that, but maybe in addition to that they request that Isak goes back or joins the group later, so that they can maybe have a discussion Monday evening into Tuesday to kind of get a confirmation, because that's what we'd all want, really. Like, we're all sick of this. This is ridiculous. And I can't believe we've managed to get ourselves back to the Isak situation again. But it is a ridiculous situation, and we need to make sure that this is, like, once the window's closed, we'll have clarity whether he's still at the club or not. But then we just need to make sure that he's actually going to come back and train and get involved. And I think Newcastle, it's important for them to get clarity on that before he actually comes back. That's what we need, really. So that's the overriding thought for me, is that if they kept him for another 24 hours and had that conversation with him and then released him to Sweden, knowing that when he comes back from international duty he's ready to play, that would be fair. But let's wait and see on that. Let's wait and see. Anything else before we go to the next talking point?
No, let's go to the next talking point, Pete. Let's get moving on the main business.
The main business is the striker. We need a striker coming in. It's obvious, even more obvious now, that Gordon is banned for the next 3 days. So going into Leeds, we don't have a striker available in terms of a first choice striker, Alexander Isak. Our second choice, seemingly, Anthony Gordon, is suspended. We do have Willisula, and he did score against Liverpool. Good goal as well. Just a quick one on that. He's starting Willisula on Saturday.
I just recall our celebrations on the voice notes, Pete. We have to. Willisula up front. This is his chance. He's starting a Premier League game. He's had chances in pre-season. He did brilliant when he came on the pitch to get the goal. He did take it well. From the assist from Popey onto Dan Burns' head and then onto Sula. But let's see what he can do against Leeds. We might have. Hopefully, we have someone else brought in by that time as well. But maybe they'd be on the bench.
Maybe that's why they're doing what they're doing in terms of trying to make moves in the market, and we'll come to some of the updates on that as well. But it seems like it's the only option unless we change tactic, unless we change personnel. So there's a couple of things that we could potentially do with that one, and we can maybe have a look at that in just a second. In fact, let's see, Daz, if we can do it now. Let me see if I can load it up. So let's have a look at the striker situation with Newcastle United. So let me just get the team up and I'll put it on the screen. Just bear with me a second, people.
If it's a blank page, I can already see it. We have no strikers. Sean Neve, maybe an option as well. But
okay, so if we just open it up, right, tactics board on the screen. Let's have a look at it. So, I imagine the Leeds. I'm just going to do the midfielders, the defenders, and that can wait. So I imagine it's going to be something like this, and I might be giving it away for Thursday, but hell, we're in it now.
Wiley,
yeah. So it could well be this actually, because it did look like this for a chunk of the second half. So this is kind of where we're at the moment with in terms of our midfield. So then we've got our forward line. Obviously, you know, it could well look like this, and quite easily in terms of the front three. Would you be happy with that? Is your front six going into that, Daz? Or would you make any?
Yeah, I think that's going to be it unless we bring in a striker ASAP. But I think Willisula probably would start. Yeah. Well, especially if it was Wisa, he's low on game time. If it was Strad Larson, he's got game time in his belt already, so he probably could start. But I think Willisula will get the nod just for this game.
Could there be a situation, just playing devil's advocate here for a second, could there be a situation where we do this?
Hit them on the pace. Hit them with pace on the counter attack. No, I think because Willis did Eddie not say something about Murphy as well? Had a slight knock. He said something in the pre-match, but he was still on the bench, Murphy. So it mustn't be too bad. But like we didn't see him at all either. That would have been a reason why he never made it onto the pitch.
Quite possibly.
And I think am I wrong here? But I can't remember the very end of the game. But did we have another sub left? How many subs did we use?
No, I think we made all of our subs.
Do we make them all? Okay.
We made all five.
Okay.
I think I did check last night because I was thinking like, why do you know what I was thinking last night?
We did actually.
Why didn't we bring Botman on? That's what I was thinking last night. So then I went back and checked, and when I went back and checked, we'd made all our five subs. So that's why. Because I thought that would have been perfect. We brought Botman on and just went proper defensive, three at the back, see it out. That would have been sort of a dream scenario to see out that game. But yeah, just looking at this one, it could well be that. But I think you know, going with Willisula, he scored on Monday. I think it'd be only right to kind of give him his opportunity to kind of lead the line. It'd be interesting to see how it pans out, really. But obviously, it's an inexperienced midfield there in terms of players not really playing together very often. Jacob Ramsey obviously is a technically very, very good player. Miley is going to be expected to step up. Bruno is obviously going to be leading the whole team, and in particular that midfield. It's going to be an interesting setup for the Leeds game. You obviously got Joe Willock that's back off the bench. You've got Murphy potentially. You've got not really many attacking options after that. So it could well be that we bring a striker in and they become that guy and Willisula's back on the bench. But I think go on.
I think Willisula will get to 45 minutes, and if we have brought in another striker, they'll be on halftime. If Willisula if it's not gone his way or he hasn't hit the net.
Okay. Yeah,
that's
let's wait and see. Literally, just as we were talking about that, it's just showing it was just showing the Willisula goal, and yeah, I'm going to turn it off now because it's just about to show the winner. But anyway, let's move on. So,
okay, if it wasn't against Newcastle, you'd say fair play to the young lad Rio as well, like only 16. But let's forget about it.
Yeah, let's forget about it. Anyway, we've got some other transfer news to talk about. What's really interesting is what's ramped up with this man here, Jurgen Strand-Larsen, particularly this morning. Lots ramped up, but before that, we know that there was talk about that 5 million valuation being apart. We know he came off with supposed Achilles injury, and we know that bid was rejected, although they did say that we would potentially go back into it. But Jan Anger Fjortoft has reported this morning a couple of things. One, that Jurgen Strand-Larsen has not been offered a new contract at Wolves. That was something that was rumoured over the weekend in order to keep Jurgen Strand-Larsen at the club that Wolves were kind of scrambling to offer him a new contract to try and keep him there and stop Newcastle's advances. In addition to that, and the reason why I'm using Nyanga Fjortoft is because he was quite adamant in a lot of the Sesko stuff.
He was,
It did come to fruition with regards to this. But Nyanga Fjortoft does say here that Newcastle saw a 50 million bid rejected yesterday by Wolves, meant to be Wolves, but I still expect this deal to go through. Another offer is imminent, and I'm told it should be enough to make Jurgen a Newcastle player. Obviously, Norwegian to Norwegian, he may well know something that we don't. And the fact that he's quite adamant that this deal will get done, I think, is what's got tongues wagging this morning. It's developed somewhat into Fabrizio Romano talking about still working on and insisting on Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Wolves don't want to sell the striker, but Newcastle's still trying to find a club-to-club solution ahead of the deadline. Scott Wilson of the Echo reported as well his own opinion on this, making a new call on Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Admits a growing sense that a deal is achievable. That's the key. That's what we're hearing now. And within his piece, he said the tone of the discussions between the two clubs was reasonably positive, and there is a feeling amongst senior officials on Tyneside that a deal is achievable. The Magpies are willing to increase their offer slightly. He does talk about a total package of around 60 million that could potentially get the deal done. What do you think about that so far, Daz, with regards to that update today? Would you say that Jurgen Strand-Larsen at this moment has overtaken Johan Wieser as the priority target for Newcastle?
Firstly, nice shirt off. The whole celebration. I used to like it when he played it for Swindon back in the day, as far as I remember. And yeah, he was very vocal on the Sheshko talk, and he was ruling us out of the equation every occasion. He does. I'm guessing he does hold some weight being a Norwegian as well. I was looking there because I know we'll talk about another player as well, a certain Serbian playing for Juventus. But I was comparing them on SofaScore there as well, and I think I'd rather Strand-Larsen than Dusan Vlahovic, but and it just as well as that, he's playing for Wolves. No offense to Wolves, but surely he's going to get more service. He's Eddie Howe will improve him, and they're both 25 actually as well. There's only a month of it between them. The massive wages that Dusan Vlahovic is on, that we would skipping ahead here a bit, but and I'm ruling Wieser out of this equation. When you're comparing the three of them, both Larsen and Vlahovic are big guys, and they can both win a header or could score the head and on the ground. Wieser is kind of a more of a not a bit of a goal hanger kind of a striker, more of a kind of Andy Cole, fox in the box kind of a player, rather than the big man. And the crossing when we have Gordon back on the wing, and we have Barnes, and we have Elanga crossing in there, that it's calling out for it to get a head in it or to get a cross in. When the ball comes in, there's no one in there. So I think that I would go. I know the last day we were talking, I was saying 50 million. And I think we signed off on 50 plus 5, but at this stage now, he is pushing the ball out to 60. I think this is and that is some Callum Wilson replacement. I know people don't like the talk of pigeonholing as a replacement for a certain player, but I like the look of him in that Newcastle team. And I'm hoping we go back in with another bid. And it's sounding positive from certain sources that there's still room to go here. But Wolves are going to be there. They know we're desperate for a striker as well, and especially we don't even have Gordon now. So it's going to be difficult to get this done. But it looks like he's mad for coming for Newcastle as well. And why wouldn't he? He jumped into a massive club like Newcastle, and he's been in the Champions League, and he'd be our number 9. So I think that's the way to go. I think that's the one of all the 3 that have been talked about now at this moment in time. He's the one I want, and have Isak there on the bench as well. Liverpool fans, don't worry, he's not going anywhere, because that doesn't equate to Isak going. That's not a bad transfer window then.
That's it. The striker is the key bit that's missing. Absolutely. And there's a few that I think we're being linked with. Just firstly, I'll come to the super chat from George Hayes. Great to have you, George. And thank you for that. He's put, I will willingly pay to watch Isak sit on the bench for the under 21s for the next 3 years. Well, thank you for your contribution there. And I think you're not the only Newcastle fan that would be happy to see that. That is for sure. Just for our own sort of satisfaction with what he's done to us over the last summer and how he's treated the club.
I'd sell him in the last year though, George, so we get something for him, because we don't want to walk away for free.
Yeah, still get a little bit of money, or maybe keep him on the bench or second striker for the rest of the season, and then still maximize your value in the summer. So it's kind of like a win-win in that situation, because we proved our point and we still get money for him. Yes, 50 million or 60 million total package. Yes, just like Lex Luger, Tony, another good wrestling reference there. And just to add to the wrestling reference, WWE's Sami Zayn was representing Newcastle at St. James's Park for the game yesterday. He was pictured there. WWE were in Newcastle doing a event. It looked like a really good one as well. And some of the wrestlers were winding up the fan base with wearing Liverpool tops with Isak 9 on the back, which didn't go down very, very well. But I
saw that. I thought it was an AI generated thing first. I was
they'll wind. They do this on occasion. They wind certain fans up, whatever city they're in, and that was one of them. But
that would do it.
With regards to Strand Larsen, I think he's top of the bill right now. And you know what made me change my mind about him being first choice is when David Ornstein reported back end of last week that Eddie Howe was doing his character references on him. That I think was a big moment, because when he was started doing his character references on a player, that shows you that he's invested in him potentially being the guy that they wanted to invest their money in. And so for me, I think that put him ahead of the list for Johan Wiese. Remember, and we'll talk about Wiese in a second, because there's been a couple of updates with regards to him. But let's not forget, Daz, and you've been kind of banging the drum on this all the way through with regards to strikers. If we can get a striker in that's not going to AFCON, that's even more of a benefit to us. And obviously representing Norway, he's available for us. We don't have to worry about losing him for 4 weeks. And I think that might have been maybe part of a call that Eddie Howe's made. He just wanted to check that it was the right type of player. Now, you mentioned a point there with regards to Vlahovic. And look, we might as well bring Vlahovic up now, because he is a player that has been linked through Ben Jacobs today, mentioning that we have been offered the chance to sign him. Juve are willing to accept offers around 30 million in order to get the Serbian striker off the wage bill. They want him off the wage bill. He's on 300 grand a week there. Now, we all balked at that when we talked about him earlier on in the summer, but I think there's a understanding now that whoever he goes to, he's going to be nowhere near that sort of level of wage. Yeah. He just can't command it. But you made an interesting point that you'd rather Strand Larsen than Vlahovic. And to strengthen that argument, Strand Larsen scored one less goal and the same amount of assists that Dusan Vlahovic did at Juventus last season in less games and for a lesser club and in the Premier League as well. So if you add those three kind of additions onto that, you know he's got the potential. Now, you know what I like about Strand Larsen is, as much as I like him as a player and I think he'd be a really good fit for Newcastle United, is that all of the fan bases are kind of laughing at it. 50 million for Strand Larsen, 60 million for Strand Larsen. He ain't even that good. That's the kind of thing that I want, because I want players and teams to be surprised by him and what he can do in our team. We know what he's capable of. Big, strong, good in the air, works his socks off. So he fits all the fundamentals to be a perfect signing for Newcastle. But I like the fact that other clubs and other teams are not really kind of seeing the vision in terms of signing him. That's what excites me about that, because I think we could surprise teams with Strand Larsen in the team going into this season. And he absolutely wants Newcastle United. For me, seeing what's happened over the course of the weekend, I think that is a play on get me out of here. I don't want to be here. Because
he's still saying he's still going to train, and he's on the bench tonight for them in the League Cup. So he hasn't thrown. Sorry, that cup tied as well. Then
wasn't it? It wasn't that bad of an injury. If he's
on
the bench,
exactly. I just can see that Eddie Howe would make him into like if we bought him for 60, he'll turn him into a 19 million pound player, and he's only 25 still. It's still a great age. So it ticks a lot of boxes. And if the only thing is, then I'm just kind of disappointed that we haven't done this way sooner. Why did we wait so long on Wiese? And I know why after Benjamin Šeško did we not? That's it. Let's go in them now and park Wiese. That's the only. Why do we wait till this late in the window to go for it?
No, I agree. Obviously, look. Let's be honest. The Strand Larsen situation, he wasn't top of the list. Let's be frank. Like, he wasn't top of the list, and I think this has come about due to us missing out on players, certain players not being achievable, like Johan Wiese, for example, and then just not fancying certain players because they don't fit the system. There are other players that are available. There are strikers available, but Eddie Howe wants a player that, not just to plonk in there and be any old striker. He wants a player there that actually is going to fit the system and be effective in that system. So I think he's had to go back and do all of his groundwork all over again. So the character references and the checks and all that stuff, which he seemed to have done last week. And I think that's what's accumulated in the first bid. I'd expect another bid coming in pretty soon. But I think the next bid may well get the deal done. And get him in, but
that's also
what strengthens our argument on this as a fan base as well is this. This was this evening from Fabrizio Romano. So Hee Chang Kwang was supposed to be a target for Crystal Palace, and he was meant to be going there, but it seems now that they've closed the door on him leaving. Now, for me, seeing that makes me think that they need to keep him because another striker is potentially in the club, and so therefore they can't let two strikers leave. I thought that, I don't know about you, Daz, but I thought that was quite telling, seeing that when that popped up.
Yeah, I saw that glancing pop up, and that was my initial thought as well. Because I know they did say that they need to bring in about 3 players, and they are signing a kind of defensive midfielder or defender slash midfielder as well, and that seems to be going through Wolves, because the first thing I did was check up, is he a striker that they're bringing in, but no, he's a different position. So yeah, but yeah, and yeah. I'm sure we're going to get on to Wisa as well, because I know Brentford are making moves again in the background.
They are, absolutely. So we'll come to that, and I know we've got a couple of super chats, so we'll come to them straight after. But with Johan Wisa, we know obviously he wasn't in the squad at the weekend. We talked about the legal perspective from him. It says Darmashev, Brentford are working on potential Wisa replacements. Few dominoes in play, with Fabio Silva close to joining Borussia Dortmund. Brentford are interested in Maximilian Bier and Wisa, hoping that would unlock a move to Newcastle United. Patrick Berger in Germany has reported something similar. He's reported that they are keeping an eye on Bier, and there's a potential bid could arrive around 40 to 50 million euros. Wonder where they're getting that money from. So it does remain unclear on that situation. What do you make of that? What do you make of that potential move? Because that for me opens up the lines of communication again with Johan Wisa, but we seem to be working with Strand Larsen as well. Could that be the two strikers in your opinion, or is that not possible? Is it only one out of these two?
It's only one out of those two. I think we only sign one because we only need to sign one because Isak will get reintegrated. But also going to say that is it Maximilian Bier. Write this one down, Keith Downey. Could be beer o'clock time there. If when that one happens, he stole my Django Unchained one. So I'm still after him for that. And he stole your tactic as well that Eddie didn't use, but I spotted that as well, as did Chris and as you did as well. But
is that
friend of the channel, Keith Downey. Sorry? Yeah, that was the three at the back, and with the Langa and Gordon up front. Yeah.
I did see that.
He borrowed that.
You wait till you wait till we have him back on here. We're gonna have words. We're gonna be shaking our fingers at him.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I think it's one of I think it's one striker that we're going to sign. I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going to get to. I don't think we're after to either. So I think, yeah, like if we sign Strand Larsen, that's it. It should stay on Wisa for me, and because I don't believe that Isak's going, and I'm not going. And I know it's a stopgap if you were to have Strand Larsen and Wisa, but it's been a poor maneuver, and I know it unlocks PSR level, but it's been because you'd have to go big. You have to go big on both of them. You have to overpay for two players, and you don't really. All you really want is one of them. So it doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. You don't want to be overpaying for two. You're absolutely right, Dash. You don't want to be overpaying for two strikers to come in. You could be paying the best part of 100 million for two strikers that by next summer you're probably wanting to replace one of them with your actually targeted striker that you want to see and take forward. Because let's be honest, Jurgen Strand Larsen will come in and will be the main guy for a period of time. But ultimately, Newcastle United will want maybe a higher profile of striker to come in and be the number one that makes Strand Larsen number two. So
or he lights up the Premier League, lights up, and he is now number one, and he is the rightful owner of the number 9 jersey. But yeah, you would imagine that chain of events would also we need another striker by then because Isak will be out the door next summer for 100%.
I agree. I agree, absolutely. Iniesta says we're 43 away from 200 likes. Let's get that 200 likes up nice and easy. Over 400 in the house watching. Thank you for tuning in and watching Loaded Mag NUFC. We're just here, just having a nice little chat about transfers, giving our opinions on what we think could well be happening in this window for the last 6 days. It's going to be a mad one. There are going to be twists and turns. We are probably going to be jumping on randomly throughout various different evenings between now and Monday, talking about maybe updates with regards to Isak signings and, of course, the reactions to Leeds over the course of the weekend. So we are.
Isak signed a new contract. I heard there, Pete. That's what I heard.
Well, there was Gaz in the chat before. He was saying, forget Isak, he's gone. In Gaz's mind, he thinks Isak's out the door, but there's obviously you're staunch on it. He's staying. I think he's going to stay. I can't see there being. I think it's more for me the ownership. I just don't see the ownership changing their mind on Isak. So there are still differences of opinions as well with regards to this. So I think there's a couple of super chats as well. So we can go to those, mate.
Let's go to that there. So Benny Boy says Wisa has scored screamers against us with both feet. Yes, Wisa is a good player. And as a Callum Milton replacement, he's a damn good one, and he would score a goal for us. It's just Afghan and just kind of being 29 or soon turning 29 kind of puts me off it a bit, and the crazy price it's gone to with Brentford, and Brentford being staunch in their determination to keep him. So look, I'm not going to be sad if we do sign Wisa, because it means that we have a striker to play. But long term, I don't think. And also what's come out as well, what you touched on the last day, Pete, of him only wanting Newcastle. Because of the previous African-based players that have come to Newcastle, Dimba, etc. And then the negative side of the thing is the way it's panned out with Brentford and then taking everything on social media and everything like that. So it's a bit not what we want to see.
It's a bit messy, isn't it? They're a bit messy at the moment.
Exactly. Frosty 45 says, pay us our money, 100 million for Action Jackson. Pay us.
So this is a Chelsea fan.
He's going to Bayern.
Well, that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like from the German report, but actually nothing seems to have materialized from that. So it might not be as clear cut as we think it might be with regards to Jackson. Look, Jackson's going to be hovering. The way I see this stuff with Jackson at the moment, Daz, and let us know your opinion on this, is that with Jackson at this moment in time, Chelsea are desperate, and I mean desperate, to get rid of him. They want him gone like sharpish. But the problem is that nobody wants to pay the fee that Chelsea want. And nobody is really that desperate for him. Like,
not even us.
Yeah, not even us. And we haven't got a striker. And it's because there are still, for me, there are still so many holes to Nicholas Jackson's game. Still so many holes. Now, just a little update on Nicholas Jackson was that Newcastle are still, and this was today, I think, with Matt Law at the Telegraph, says that are still eyeing up Jackson. And there was he was at Matt Law was actually on London is Blue podcast, and he says, I'm told there's a fairly big other club in the mix for Jackson, and that Newcastle have renewed interest over the past few days. So talks about buying as well in that situation, but it seems like we are still kind of hanging around there, and I think we're hanging around because he's our last resort. That's kind of how I feel about that.
That's what we said the last day. That it sounds like a last deadline day move for us if he's still in the mix for needing the club. And Chelsea will take anything at that stage, you know, or some kind of a loan with an option to buy or something like that. I don't know if we're going. We shouldn't be going in for a loan with the obligation to buy. I think it's too much of a gamble.
I absolutely agree. I would not be paying a fee outright for him because you just don't know what you're getting. I don't trust him. I don't trust his temperament. We could argue we've already got one of those in the team with Anthony Gordon with another red card. I don't want another player in the team that's got a question mark around his temperament. I don't want it. So that's a big question mark. And my other question mark is his finishing. He is so erratic with his finishing. Jackson. His work rate off the board, his running, his pressing, all that sort of stuff I like. But there's too many holes in his game that makes me uncomfortable with us paying the sort of money that we would be expected to outright. I just don't want to see it. However, Daz, there has been news as we've been on the show around another striker, yet another striker that has been linked with Newcastle United. And this comes from Matteo Moretto, who is very, very reliable with regards to all things transfers. And Newcastle have been offered Roma striker Artem Dovbyk, the Ukrainian international. It says no negotiations or advanced talks at this stage. Contacts have only been indirect through intermediaries, while the club's main focus is still on strikers in the Premier League at this moment in time. So are we starting to build up, Daz, a bank of European strikers, a potential target just to add to this? Not Newcastle related, but Fabrizio Romano said there's been nothing advanced between Dovbyk and Villarreal at this stage. No green light or loan move to Villarreal on player side, and nothing close even between the two clubs. So he hasn't got his move to Villarreal, and there isn't anything progressed there. But Newcastle are now apparently in the ring for Dovbyk as well. What do you think?
What do I think? I think that as well as this guy that I've only heard about now 30 seconds ago, there was another one yesterday. I didn't know he existed there until then. Is Harder from Sport. Yeah, from Sporting Lisbon, and I think we're, because everyone knows we're desperate to buy a striker. We have money, and they're going to throw us any player that they have. They're either offering the striker to us because they think they can make a quick buck out of us, or they're offering us this striker because their wages are crazy and they want them off the books, or they're offering us this striker because there's something behind the scenes not doesn't add up, and we'll throw them to Newcastle, who are in a bit of a panic, and maybe we'll get this one over the line with them, and we can spend our money, either take the cash, bank it, or use it for another day out. And there's too much of a gamble on some of these guys. So like all the way through the transfer window, Newcastle get offered these guys stuff. I mean, it's the press and the intermediaries that are leak these stories, are throwing Newcastle's name in and throw other clubs' name in it too. But this is the week that it gets absolutely crazy. So this is only the start of it. We're plenty more to come.
It feels like we've gone kind of full circle again, because after the season finished, it was like links coming out of our ears all over the place. Yeah. Players here, players there. It was constant. And then it kind of dwindled down into our main targets. And now it's kind of picked up again where all these different links are coming out. And this will be some of these will be genuine. This is Newcastle going further afield to try and find a striker to come in and do the job. But DXLE says Harder doesn't I'm not even going to repeat that. Harder doesn't do some. That wasn't me.
I think it was my house. Something going on. I better check on that.
You go check on it. We're back in a second. But yeah, whilst Daz checks on that, but DXLE says Harder can't even score in the Portuguese league. There's a reason I didn't even put him on the potential links on there, because when I read it, I just thought, nah. I just don't see Newcastle United targeting that type of player, with all due respect. Other questions coming in as well. There's a few. So Vlahovic's wage demands wouldn't make that viable. But this is the thing with Vlahovic. He's on 300 grand a week, but no club, whoever he goes to, is not going to pay anything near to that, Alan. So actually, he might well be viable for a cheap fee. I think it's 30 million euros, so looking around 25 million. All good, Daz?
All good, yeah. You know, someone just smashed Alexander's head, Isak's head in, so it's okay. All good.
Happy days. But yeah, so that could still be viable. But you're right, nobody's going to pay that £300,000 a week. But yeah, I was just jumping through some of the questions. What else is there? What are the other ones? There's this one here. I don't know if you already put this one up, Daz. £150 million is more than PSG paid for Mbappe. It's not realistic. I maintain they value the player as much as the club values them. The value of our player, Alexander Isak, still 3 years left on his contract, is 150 million. Being talked about one of the best strikers in the world, that's what we value him at. If you don't value him at 150 million, don't buy him. He'll stay. It's as simple as that.
And PSG paid 200 million for Neymar, did they not? At that time as well.
Over that, I think. And that was paid out of the release clause that he had on his contract. So look, you know, there's a few Liverpool fans that have said this. Oh, you know, you'd expect an Mbappe or whatever to go for that price. That's fine, but we value him at that price. Yeah, exactly. We value him at that price because we don't want to lose him. So if you want to pry him away from us, you have to pay a fee that's close to or at our value. This is how transfers have worked for the 30 plus years that I've been watching football. Like, this is how it's always been. Nothing's different. But I don't know. I think it might be because the club, Liverpool, are so desperate to get him that they're seeing it as unreasonable, because there doesn't seem to be a way in with Newcastle. It's like you either pay your money or we keep him. There's no middle ground. There's no negotiations. There's no anything to get Liverpool fans excited, because it is very much like dead in the water. It'll either get done or it won't. It'll get done quickly or it just won't get done at all. It's very much in the middle. So, but this helps us, Daz, because all of this nonsense and these constant tweets and retweets of Isak nonsense is all put to bed. It's all stopped, which I'm happy about. There's another player we did talk about, Johan Wieser. We did bring it up with so we'll talk about that. What I wanted to discuss, and we can kind of like finish this one off as the main sort of or last sort of major talking point, is, and it's reverting back to the injuries of the three players. So Tonali, Joelinton, Shaw. We know that Gordon's injured as well, but Tonali and Joelinton in particular, if they are more significant than what we think they might be, and for what those suggestions from Physio Scout think that they might be, is there a need for you, in your opinion, to go and get another midfielder before the window's out?
I find it difficult to think about midfielders when there's such pressing need for strikers or a striker. And I think all our energy needs to be put into that. That's why it kind of surprised me a bit that we got the Ramsey deal done. But I know there was kind of a window to get it done there with the whole thing with the squad cost ratio and Aston Villa and the things that they were trying to maneuver around. But so if we got a striker tomorrow, I would say yes. Then start looking at it. Then move on. Put everything into getting a midfielder, and obviously sorting the whole Isak situation out. But until that time, no. And I know you're probably going to bring up one player that was linked there as well. The boy from Inter. I don't know. There's a few midfielders that we've talked about as well. There's the lad from Ajax as well. There's a few different names that had floated around the last while. But a cash deal alone, maybe. But I don't know. I think get the strikers situation finished first for me.
Definitely. I mean, we should be able to do multiple deals at the same time, but you're right.
But
Obviously, we all know the striker target is the absolute target that we need to be focusing on to get nailed down. But the reason why I say it, Daz, is because with Tonali injured, we don't have. Look, in my opinion, people might think differently. I don't want to see Bruno back in the 6 again. I don't want to see. I like Bruno in the 8. We've seen the performance that he can produce playing in the 8, as we did last night. And I'm still not overly convinced on Miley being the guy to hold the number 6 position. Like, for example, away at Leeds. This will be a massive test for him if he plays. We know that Jacob Ramsey doesn't play directly in the centre of a 3. So it then begs the question, in Joe Willock, for example, who's now back and was on the bench yesterday, cannot play as that number 6. We don't have really another number 6 that can really grasp a game like Sandro Tonali. So do we need to go in and get somebody that can potentially play that role, or dovetail with a Bruno Guimaraes within that position? So that's why we can't brought Davide Fratesi back up, because that was a link that was from last week, I think. You know, do Newcastle go push the boat out and go and sign someone like that and potentially bring that in? There was another link that's probably not likely, but do we look at, as you mentioned, a potential loan deal with Daz? When Man United are potentially looking at Kobe Mainu going out on loan, he could play as an 8 in Newcastle's midfield. He's a young player, could potentially get minutes there. Do you look at someone like that? That's just an example. And Davide Fratesi is an example. Do you go out and just go and get a midfielder, loan or not? Another one in there, Conor Gallagher, who was being linked with Palace yesterday. He's another great example of someone that you could bring in. And actually, with Palace on Sunday night, he was linked with a loan to Palace.
Yeah. And of course, the one that got away as well, Douglas Luiz, was someone that we talked about before. We would have liked to have him to come to Newcastle, but that board as ship has sailed. And another one that we talked about before Chelsea signed him is Andre Santos. As well, the talk of him potentially being on the move, or there is kind of linked as a potential Bruno kind of understudy. But yeah, there's plenty of options out there, and I think I'd be more expecting another midfielder to come in if we offloaded Willock. Then I think we definitely move for a midfielder, but. So I'm hoping Strand Larson gets sorted. Then we can look at maybe even though look at trying to sell Willock and bringing in a replacement, and then I think we're set then for the season, or at least till January.
We could potentially be in business, getting our striker through the door and a move. Yeah, I'm still holding on to a slight glimmer of hope that a Willock to West Ham, a Paqueta to Newcastle could materialize before Monday's deadline is done. He's come out, I think he's come out, there's been noises after this weekend, come out and said that he's still considering leaving the club. That would be a dream, that.
Yeah, and there's some Paqueta linked to Spurs as well. And I think West Ham could have signed someone, or they're linked with, they're in talks with someone assigning a midfielder. I can't remember who it was now, but yeah, they need to strengthen.
Didn't they have a bid rejected for Mateus Fernandes of Southampton? They had a bid rejected. Apparently, they wanted 60 million for him. But you could be right. They were, I I think they were looking.
No, that's Palace.
They were looking at another midfielder, and I can't think who West Ham were looking at. But the reason, just as you're looking for that, the reason why I'd say Joe Willock is because Joe Willock has pace that West Ham's midfield doesn't have. They're not quick in transition at all, and they're actually quite slow in midfield. And I think that actually, like, although we don't rate him, I actually think he could do a decent job in that West Ham midfield. And of course, in the meantime, we benefit by bringing Paqueta to Newcastle, which is a win-win situation there. And we could both help ourselves out with PSR. We could cook some sort of fee up for Willock, and they could cook some sort of fee up for Paqueta, and we could make it work.
They're in advanced talks to sign Monaco midfielder Magasa. That's what it is. So for like 17 million euro plus 3, so 20 million. Is the name I've seen them linked with. So yeah, they do look like they're trying to strengthen the midfield. But if Paqueta goes somewhere, the fee mentioned for Paqueta was 60 million. So I think that's going to be difficult for us.
The Paqueta fee, like for a few people are asking, Tony's asking, and I think Aaron said, you see, that was the report. We talked about that on Fully Loaded Transfer Show, Aaron, is that apparently it was reported it was 25 million, but it wasn't. Apparently West Ham wanted more, around 50 to 60 million. Because remember, I think they paid about 50 million for him. So I think it was around 50 to 60 million they wanted. And you're right, Tony, it does sound too cheap. And I think they wanted a bit more for him. But that's where the make way. I'm trying to hope, like, to kind of pray this deal into existence. You know, they take Willock for a sizable fee, and that lessens the load of Newcastle having to pay 50 to 60 million for Lucas Paqueta because the money that we're generating from Joe Willock. That's what I'm trying to hope for in this situation. I hope I'm hoping it into existence, hoping that there's a chance. Willock to West Ham, Paqueta to Newcastle. Everyone's a winner. They get their midfielder, we get ours.
Except when Willock breaks down and West Ham get relegated then.
What in the medical? Imagine that.
As soon as the contract's signed. Look at we'd wish him the best of luck. No matter where he is, I'd love to see him go through a season without injury. So he deserves that.
Any questions?
And you said you said Kobe Mainoo earlier. I don't see Man United do us any favors ever. I don't think that'll ever happen. There's a few. Frosty asks, "Are you guys getting a sporting director anytime soon?" Yes, we are. It's meant to be the guy from Forest. Is it Wilson?
Wilson.
And we're also meant to be getting a CEO soon as well. David asked me about the Brazil shirt. No, I don't have Bruno G on the back. I got Bruno G on a Newcastle jersey a couple of seasons ago, but no names on the back anymore. Let me see. Okay, Ginesta asks, would you be happy if we sold Isak for 130 million and bought Strad Larson for 60 million and Jackson for 60 million? No, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't, because that goes back into our argument where we were talking about buying two strikers and having to overpay for both. That's not what we want to do. And
if we break it down, 130 million, not enough. Strad Larson for 60 million, that's doable, just about. It's overpaid, but Eddie can get the most out of him. And Jackson for 60 million, no, way too much of a gamble. There in that
He's
one.
not worth 60 million.
Yeah.
Nicholas Jackson is not worth 60 million for me, not at all. I wouldn't be paying any more than 50 million for him. I just wouldn't. I actually think he's worth less than that, but Chelsea fans would get on my back for saying that, but I don't see it. I just don't see it. Too many holes in his game. Don't trust the guy. Nah. And the thing about it is, Stan Larson, you don't mind being second fiddle, but if you're signing two strikers, you've got to go forward with those two strikers. And if they're not quite good enough to take it to the next level, what are you going to do? Sell one after one season? You're going to find really hard to try and gain any sort of value on selling them after one season to try and get the striker in that you want. So yeah, not for me.
Tony Timebridge, or Cheryl Cole, as we like to call him, asked the question: is Gordon getting sent off versus Liverpool and in the run-up to the final versus Liverpool a bit sus? Here's a conspiracy theory from Tony.
The problem is that, like, the fact that it's happened raises the question, but I don't believe so. I believe that he's just so motivated to beat Liverpool because obviously it's his boyhood club, the club he supported as a lad. I think he's just so motivated to show how good he is and to beat them. We haven't beat them under Eddie Howe in the Premier League, and I think he just shows how desperate he is. And he did in that moment because look, we're frustrated that he got sent off, but nobody can say to me that he wasn't arguably the best player on the pitch up until that point. I thought he was
running everywhere.
That was his best striker's performance I've seen him play ever, including the under-21s. Like, he was doing everything that you would want in a striker. He was just missing the final board. He could have had 2 goals. He was just missing that final touch on the board. He was getting into the right positions. They were defending well. He was doing everything you would want to be a striker for Newcastle United. And David Cook says the apology did sound genuine. Normally I'm just like, you got sent off. Like, I was annoyed with Gordon when he got sent off against Brighton. That annoyed me because of what was at stake in the final. This one, I can't be annoyed by it because I respected what he did on the pitch so much.
And I'm with you on that. Anthony Gordon last season is totally different to Anthony Gordon this season, and he was running everywhere. And okay, I think there was a sequence of events as well. Dan Byrne put in a tough challenge. I think he got a yellow card. Then the very next challenge that happened was that one. It was the moment, and we were just after going behind. It was like that. It was trying to go hard on everything, and it was like. The momentum, it was definitely a red card, and there may be a touch of malice in it as well, but momentum did take him forward a bit too. It was very difficult to slow down in that situation. So I can forgive him for this one for sure, and I think he will repay us in time this season as well, because he's looked really good, and it's not his fault that we don't have any striker, and he's happy to play up front. But imagine him on the wing this season; he would have been tearing it up. But because it's going off a bit of a tangent now. When you look at Gordon and you look at Elanga, you always see his pace, and then you see Barnes, and he looks so slow in comparison. Totally different player, but it looks like he's running through treacle. But it just look, it is what it is. Sorry, we do. Ginny says that we hit the 200 like targets. Well done, chat. Nice one, Ginny, and a nice one, Tom. And
keep putting those likes in. Keep putting those likes in, people, because we've got 200, we've got 400 in the chat. So keep those likes coming, people. Just getting the more likes helps the channel grow. It helps more people see the show and the content. It means the world to us. Just clicking that like, you don't realize how much that means. So. Keep going. Great target.
2 last comments. Trippier for Prime Minister says, I honestly think we could have won the title if Isak wasn't such a bellend and we signed Wisa. Call me crazy. I don't care. I don't think we would have won the title, but we would have been in contention to hit towards that top 3. I think if the whole Isak situation didn't happen, we got the players in. We we have got in to date, and we got a Callum Wilson replacement, and like we'd be looking now at as well at offload maybe a few more. We'd be kind of looking at other things as well to make us even better again. So I think it's a fair enough. Not the title. I don't think we would have done the title, but we would be in the mix for the top 3 places. What's your thoughts, Pete?
Yeah, I think we'd have been. Well, we certainly would have started this season better first and foremost. We would have probably been going in with at least 3 more points on the board. However, yeah, I wouldn't have said we'd have been in a title charge. I think that may be a step too far for us. Although there were some people, LB Pots, that were adamant that we were going to be in a title charge this season, or certainly in that conversation. I didn't think we'd be in that, but yeah, I would have said we'd have been in the fight for top 4. So like you've got Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea as what people would consider the top 4. I felt we could have been in that race from now. I still think we can. Yeah. If we sign well and we keep that squad bolstered and we keep players fit, I still think this team is good enough to be in that conversation. But I think we'd have definitely been in that conversation had we have not had this disrupted summer with Isaac. Yeah. It can still turn around though. Remember, 2 games in, long way to go. We've seen so many teams have poor starts to the season or not win the games that they should have, and everyone's gone, they've lost games, they're not going to do anything. And all of a sudden, they just got a mad run, just like we did around Christmas time. And we would go from mid-table, boom, all the way up to fight for Champions League, which we got in the end. It can still happen. It's not the end of the world.
So maybe not the title, the trips for Prime Minister, but Champions League, you never know. Draw coming up on Thursday, people, live and loaded as well as the big match preview directly after it. So a big one on Thursday night loaded. And to leave us, the last comment is Dale says the Mackhams are 1-0 down. Happy days. Happy days.
I just missed the goal as well. They did show the goal. Sean Longstaff's just about to play for Leeds, just about to kick off. But I just missed the goal, unfortunately. But apparently it was an absolute banger from Huddersfield, whoever scored it. Apparently it was an absolute banger. And it's at the Stadium of Light as well. Oh, Castledine scored it. But I just missed it. But apparently it was a great goal. So lots of content coming up for Loaded Mag and UFC people. We are going to be back. We're working on guests as well. There's one guest that's pretty much confirmed. I'm just trying to figure out a day to get that set so we could be having a right good chat with this guest. Been trying to get him on for a while, but he's been extremely busy. And potentially 2, maybe 3 guests. Who knows? We're working on them. But we'll be here right with you for the action. When things break, we'll be on it. So click that notification bell. So if we just pop up with the show, you will know when that show happens. Absolutely.
Because sometimes we don't know what show we're going to do because we changed direction and shows 3 times before we got decided on this one. So stay tuned. Could we even be back there again tonight? Who knows? Who knows what's around the corner?
No, fingers crossed.
Radio. Yeah, something's good happens then, hopefully. Right. See you in the next one. You have some radiators. Good night, everyone.